How's it going, guys? My name is Dom, and here is 5 very useful JavaScript console methods. Okay, first on this list is console.dir. Now, the way I like to explain this one is that if console log doesn't give you enough information, then this is probably going to come in handy. Okay, so right here, I'm getting a reference to a save button in the JavaScript, which looks like this in the HTML. So now let's console.log what this looks like. Okay, so btn save this, go in the browser, refresh, and we can see we get simply just the HTML button in the console. If I click onto it, it's going to highlight it and so on, but I can't actually expand it like other objects and see the properties and methods, because this here is simply just an HTML element object in the JavaScript code. So let's now use console.dir instead. Go back in the browser, refresh, and you get a more detailed and more usable version of that log. You can expand it, you can see all the properties or the methods. And by the way, this here is a great way to learn the JavaScript DOM by looking through all of these methods here. And you can see here, of course, console.dir is going to give you those extra bit of information when you're logging out certain things. Next, we have console.group. This here allows you to group your console messages, giving you indentation and subsections or groups inside your console output. So going inside the JavaScript code, let's say console.log message1. This is a simple message being logged out to the console. Of course, I'll save this in the browser, refresh, and we get this here. So now let's use console.group to then group the next set of messages together. So inside here, we're going to say console.group, all right? Then we're going to say console log message1, message2. Actually, we're going to say 2 and 3 inside the group here. Then we're going to say, okay, we've done this, group end, okay? So you call group, then you have your messages, then you say group end to say this is now the end of the group. If I now say console log message4 inside here, let's see how this looks. I'll save it, go back in the browser, refresh, and we get message1, then a group. It's indented. You can expand it, collapse it and expand it, and you get message4 in the outer, more global area, okay? Now, you've noticed that this here says console.group. You can actually give this a name. For example, I can say group1. Save this, refresh, and we get group1 right there, okay? You can do multiple nesting. So you can say, as an example, inside group1, I can say console.group again and say 1.1, then have this inside here. I can now say group end. So of course, this group end refers to this group, okay? Then of course, this for the outer group. But I can say, let's move message3 outside of that internal group. So let me just make this a little bit neater. Just like this, there we go. Yeah, so we have your indented group, your subgroup. If I save this back in the browser, we now of course get 1.1, and of course you can expand and so on. Okay, next on this list is console.table. Now, this here is simply just a different way of logging out your data, especially useful for objects or arrays. Okay, right here I've got a user object, ID, username, and member since. Let's say console.table and log out the user. Okay, save this back in the browser, refresh, and we get this as the output. As you can see, it is a table form of your data with the properties on the left side and the value column on the right side. Okay. You can also see you even get the normal object output if you need to reference that instead. So if you like the way this looks and it's going to make it easier for you to read your output, then go ahead and start using console.table. But be wary, because it can get complex when you have multiple nesting. For example, an array in this object. Let's go back inside here and we're going to add a hobbies array with web development and gardening. I'll save this and refresh again, and now we get the 2 new columns, 0 and 1, the indexes for web development and gardening, okay? So be wary about your complex objects. Now, what does a standard array look like? So if I say user.hobbies to just log out the simple string array, I'll save this and try again, and we get the index on the left side, 0 and 1, and of course the value on the right side. Next up, we have console.count. Now, this here is interesting because it allows you to count how many times something has happened. As an example, I've got a button here which says click me. I want to know how many times I've clicked this button. Now, this can apply to other things like how many times an API call happens or how many times a render happens, whatever it might be. It's going to come in handy. So if I go inside the JavaScript code, I've got a reference to that button right here. And we're going to say btn count.add event listener and listen for the click event, of course. And every time this button gets clicked on, we're going to say console.count and then provide a label. We're going to say here button clicked, okay? So we only have the two words button clicked right here. If I save this, go back in the browser, refresh, click on the button, we get button clicked, our label, then colon, the number of times this has ran. I'll click it again, we get 2, 3, etc. Okay, so this would have been done manually in the past, possibly by just logging out button clicked and then relying on the little number on the left side to know if it's been 4 times, 5 times, whatever it is. So this here can definitely come in handy if you need to track how many times a bit of code has executed. Okay, last on this list is console.time. Now this one here is probably more well known than the rest of them, okay, and it allows you to time or benchmark how long certain things take. Okay, so as an example, you can see here, I'm printing out the numbers 0 to 250 on the document. So let's time how long this operation takes. Going inside VS Code here, this is the code, which of course is going to perform the operation. We can see I'm saying for 0 to 250, so 250 times. Let's just say document.body.innerHTML and add the index and then a line break, okay? So how do we time this code? Well, up here, we can say console.time and then provide a label, okay? We can say render 1 to 250, okay? Then underneath the code, very simple, you just say time end, just like this, right? And provide the same label so that it knows that you'll want to stop this timer and not some other timer. If I save this, go back in the browser, refresh here, the time end part is going to render out the time in milliseconds. You can see here it took 128 milliseconds to perform this operation. Now, of course, be careful with asynchronous operations. Of course, if you're using async await, it's probably going to be okay because you have your await. But if it's like a callback function or a standard then or catch or whatever it is, make sure to put your time end inside your concluding function or your concluding callback to get accurate measurements. And that is all for this video. If this one helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to Decode. And here is another video.